Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all about that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and today we got a special guest, a true powerhouse in the podcasting world, Adam Schaeuble. He is an online business coach for podcasters. He is the host of the top 100 ranked podcast business school, and he has honestly been in podcasting since 2015. So when podcasting really just kind of started taking a turn and making its way to the network. So he's recorded over 1,000 episodes and amassed over 1 million downloads. Honestly, I'm excited to dive into just the mindset of, creating a podcast and, the mindset of once, a business owner has created a podcast, like getting over that hump of hearing your own voice, essentially what is the now radio, right? And that whole nervousness, behind starting a podcast and so forth. But without further ado, Adam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, Devin. Hey, I enjoyed that intro. Was that you singing on that, like with a little auto-tune action, or like?
Yeah, that was no, no, not at all. I'm not even in the shower. Do I sound that good?
Oh, I like it though. I was getting in the rhythm over here. I'm ready to rock now. My mindset is ready to go.
So let's dive in. I mean, let's rewind. Why did you get into podcasting? What was your come up? Because I know you had an entrepreneurial background. What was your childhood like? What was your come up into the entrepreneurial space first?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was always kind of built with that entrepreneurial mindset. I didn't like working for other people. Like straight up, since like kindergarten, first grade, I would round up my buddies and we create little businesses in the neighborhood. Whether it's like some kind of like ice cream truck hustle, we'd let people know when like the ice cream truck's coming. We're on walkie talkies and we'd alert the kids, for a small fee. We'd alert the kids that, the ice cream truck was coming down their street next. We made like homemade cards and stuff, and we'd go door to door selling these homemade cards. And I'd supply all the stuff. I'd get my cut. I had my distribution channel. And this is like 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, lawn care, all that stuff. I've only worked for someone else for 1 month of my life. I bagged groceries for 1 month while I was in high school. I was like, this is terrible. Never doing this again. And I've never worked for anybody ever since that point. I've just been a wild entrepreneurial stallion and running the planes. But yeah, podcasting was really exciting to me. Back in that like 2013, I started listening to podcasts. I owned a gym and had a very successful gym. I launched like a boot camp program around that 2011, 2012 time span where that became really, really popular. Grew my gym really quickly to the point where all of a sudden I had 35 employees and 500 plus clients. And we were doing 100-person boot camps month after month and like really doing well with it. And people were like, you should franchise this. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be in charge of more things and more people. That doesn't really vibe with my personality or my life goals, but I do like helping more people. So let's maybe look at this podcast idea and let's start a health or a weight loss based podcast, kind of in alignment with what we teach at the gym, what I teach at the fitness facilities. That's kind of how I got launched in the space initially.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And I mean, being both in the fitness space and you having that background, I think that was one of the things we were really connected with, when we first had spoken. And, having that realization too, right? Because, selling your gym and transitioning, people think that when you start off on one career path, even in entrepreneurship, like you have to stay on that path, right? And you're a testament to, you can pivot at any point, right? It's uncomfortable, right? There's going to be growing pains, but if you're willing to go through those pains and learn something new, then the world is endless of, full of possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, let's put it in this perspective. I graduated college in 2003. Podcasting didn't exist in 2003. And now I'm a full-time podcaster. Like within 16 years of graduating college, I was a full-time podcaster, which was an industry that did not even exist. So like I look at my son now, he's getting ready to start high school. I'm like, just learn as much as you can, find what you're passionate about, because technology evolves. You will be like a teleportation expert or something. Like, who knows, like what is gonna, you maybe like a time traveling, boss of something. I don't know. So I think I've always been driven by impact and how can I create income via impact and create the lifestyle and build the lifestyle that I want. So podcasting was really, really attractive to me. And yeah, pivoting. That's one of the superpowers of being a small business owner, is that I wasn't a franchise of anybody. As a podcaster, I remain independent. I get invited to be a part of networks all the time. I get hit by sponsors all the time. I tell them all no, because I want control of everything, so I can pivot and do what I want to do and sell what I want to do and build the business and brand that I want to build.
No, and I think that's awesome. And I mean, I know a lot of podcasters that do it for the sponsors, and it's not that it's wrong or anything. I completely understand it. Like for us, like, my main thing is just giving back, right? And being able to have full control of what I want to talk about when I want to talk about it. And so I think that's awesome that you've stayed true to that, for you and your own core values of like, look, I want to be in control. I don't want anyone telling me what I can't say or can say. Not that you're saying anything bad, but it's just that ability to have the freedom to pivot, transition, move, do what you want to do. So what was that initial phase like for you getting into the podcast space, especially with it not being what it is today?
Dude, it was super hard. Like, it's difficult now for different reasons, but back then there weren't all like the YouTube videos and the online courses and all the coaches and everything. I just knew I listened to podcasts. I'm like, I think I could impact people in this medium. Let's try it out. And I figured out how to record stuff just on GarageBand on my Mac, my MacBook Air, my 2000 whatever MacBook Air, just a war horse of a machine. That thing lasted me almost 20 years. I'm like, this is a great computer. But anyway, I recorded like 7 episodes on GarageBand. I'm like, okay, I got this part. I had no idea how to make it go on Apple Podcast. That was the only thing that existed. There wasn't like Spotify wasn't even around or anything. So I had heard that there was an insurance agent in my hometown that had a podcast. And I was like, I got to find this guy. So I scheduled an appointment. He thinks he's going to sell me insurance. And all I want to do is hit him up about how to make my audio go on Apple Podcasts. And he showed me. I eventually bought some insurance from him down the road for my fitness business. But that was like the hardest thing ever, like trying to figure out how do I make my words go into Apple Podcasts. And once I figured that out, I just got into the cadence of, all right, now we just need to get weekly episodes going. And I tried some different stuff, very interview heavy, some solo episodes. But to sum up my first 3 years, like 2015, 16, and 17, I tried a lot of stuff. Nothing really worked. Hardly anybody was listening. Like the growth wasn't happening. And I had earned a total of $37 in the first 3 years. And that was from a Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee affiliate link. I made $37 total dollars. So I was thinking like most podcasters do. They get in and they do what their podcasting heroes do. Like I was listening to certain shows, like Tim Ferriss show. I'm like, oh, he talks about Four Sigmatic. I'm going to talk about Four Sigmatic. I'm going to make so much money. Athletic Greens. Let me get some of that cash. MeUndies. Let me get some of that underwear money in my piggy bank. Like none of that worked for me because I was starting at a completely different brand level. Tim Ferriss has a huge brand, huge email list, huge social media following, best-selling author, all these high-level connections. I was starting from a point that I call a 000, zero social media following, zero subscribers to my show, and 0 email list. That's a different brand positioning level, and we have to monetize and grow in a different way. And I eventually figured that out, and things started taking off after those initial 3 years.
So, I mean, that's where people don't realize that there's a threshold in a lot of things. And you didn't just burn the bridges and burn the boats and dive into podcasting. I mean, you just mentioned right now, like you were podcasting and you learned from the insurance guy, you bought insurance for your gym, meaning that you still had your gym, you're still operating that while you were kind of playing around with this new thing, right? So what was that transition that, made you want to stop with the gym and go full into podcasting?
So I think the more I got into podcasting, the more I saw like, all right, a few people are starting to listen. I see the potential. Really in 2018, I tried an experiment. I was like, all right, the affiliate link sponsorship thing, not really working. Let's try a paid online, a paid challenge. And so I'm like, I'm going to do a 3-day, fitness-based challenge that's free. And then I'm going to sell a $37 28-day extension of that challenge. Let's see what happens. So I promoted the 3-day free thing on my show to my meager social media following and my very meager email list. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this free fitness challenge. I'm going to show up live on Facebook Live. But the one advantage I have, this was like the beginning of Facebook Live. Think about like how long ago that was.
Mhm.
And I was doing it. I had no fear of just throwing my phone in my face, going live, and let's see what happens. And everybody was like, oh, it's so nerve wracking. I'm like, hell no, I can do this. So I would go live. People were into it. And then the last day I go, hey, if you want to keep doing this for 28 more days, it's $37. And I had, I ended up selling like almost 100 of those. I was almost $4,000. I was like, okay, first 3 years, I made $37. And the reason I priced it $37 course because they're like, I've made a total of $37. Let's charge $37 and see if I can double my income that I've made in the first 3 years. So I sold about 100 of them, made $3,700 something dollars. I was like, all right, that worked. And people liked it. And they started going, well, what's next? Like, how can we keep working with you? So I developed a membership. I was like, now I can keep coaching you, keep inspiring you, mentoring you for, I think I charged like $47 a month. Eventually that membership ended up being about $97 a month. But then I started doing these challenges. And the next one I did, I go, same program, same protocol. Let's charge 97 instead. And I sold 140 something. I made $14,000 in 3 days on that one. I was like, okay, this is something is happening here. So that, and at the same time, still have my gym, doing everything, 35 employees, 500 clients, blah, blah, blah. So I had two kind of full-time jobs is what I was doing basically. But one of the smartest moves I made was I started putting like an electric fence around my schedule for podcast time and online business time. It wasn't just like melted Neapolitan ice cream of just everything all mixed together. It was like really defined times and flavors there. And as that online business started to make more money, I started to fence off more of my time to where starting off, it was like 3 hours on every Tuesday, and then it became half a day on Tuesday, then it became every Tuesday, then it became Tuesday and Thursday. And I started to see the light of leverage. And I was like, I think if I can eventually go full-time in the online space, I was putting in so many hours, man. And you know how it is with fitness. Like we work when other people don't work. So I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to set up boot camp classes at my gym for the 5:30 a.m. class. And then I got to be around making sure the 7 p.m. class is going off without a hitch and doing all these boot camp things. So I was like, I think I could work like way less than 40 hours just doing online business. And that was very attractive to me with 2 young children. I was like, I want to be around for them. So that why started to develop to the point where I'm like, all right, this is now the goal. Like I want to replace my income, get to a point where I feel secure, sell the business, sell the fitness business, go full-time into podcasting. And that came to fruition at the end of 2019, right before the pandemic hit and all the gyms went crazy anyway. So good timing there. But yeah, that's when it actually happened. I sold my gym in 2019.
Oh, I mean, that's awesome. And I mean, like 20, you got to think, so timeline 2013, listen to podcasts, 2015, really starting to dive into and really, making it a thing. 4 years of recording and trying things out and testing things out. If people think that a pivot happens and, the next day you're already on the path to success, it's like, it takes time, in any area of life, it takes effort. It takes, kind of pushing through that barrier of discomfort and of essentially no growth sometimes, making $37. You're just like, oh, wow. Like I didn't really make much. Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, well, I didn't make much doing that. What else can I tweak, alter, modify, add to, start to actually make this a thing? And that's when you test stuff out and play with stuff. I still think that the one hard thing with podcasting is, unlike social media, even though I guess it kind of is social media, but unlike traditional social media, you can't just like boost an episode, right? And that's the one thing is like to grow an audience, like you have to be kind of strategic. You have to put yourself out there. So the first part of my question to you is, I know you said it wasn't an issue for you, right? Going live, right? But that first podcast episode, when you're going to record your voice and, people are going to hear it, you don't know how many people are going to hear it. what went through your mind in that initial recording or planning of recording?
Well, I think one of the key things was my mindset. I don't know why. I mean, this was like one of the smartest things that I ever thought. I did a lot of dumb things. I did a lot of things wrong when I launched, but this was a great mindset to have. I was like, okay, this first episode, this is the least amount of people that will ever hear me. So I'm not going to stress out about this one. Like, I'm more worried about episode 500 or 300, because then hopefully lots of people are listening in. So I just went in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring energy and education. It was a solo episode. I just kind of told my story. At that time, I had my story pretty well dialed in. I was like, I used to weigh 327 pounds. I went on a journey. I lost over 100 pounds. Then I started my boot camp program, where I've helped over, however many people lose 100 pounds in my hometown community, lost 35,000 pounds in 5 years. Like, this whole thing, like this whole transformation story. Now I'm helping other people. Now it's your turn. Here's what we're talking about on this show, blah, 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 blah. So I just kind of did that. And I was used to talking in front of people, because I always would, with our boot camp graduations and stuff, I'd do a big ceremony thing, like a high school graduation. Everybody's crying and all this stuff. So I had some public speaking experience, but I think so many podcasters stress out about that first episode. I call it podcrastination. Like, they sit and they like, everything's got to be perfect, and they look for an excuse to not launch their show. And people hire me to launch their shows, and I see this almost every single time. People are so dialed in, like, we got the launch 4 episodes ready to go, and then all these topics. We got expert positioning, we got their marketing plan up and ready to rock, social media assets, and then like, wait, I think we need to tweak the art of the show 12 more times. And they start finding reasons to stall. Maybe that audio on that first one, I said a couple of times on there or whatever. So that starts to creep in, that imposter syndrome, that podcrastination, like I said. And podcasting is ready, fire, aim. It's not ready, aim, fire. Because if you take ready, aim, fire, I see podcasters go ready, aim, aim, aim into infinity, to the point where Devin, I had a dude approach me, and he's like, I've got 47 episodes recorded, haven't launched yet. I was like, dude, you got a year of content. That's a year almost, of weekly content. And it was because his art wasn't perfect yet. And it's just like, you can't let good get in the way of perfect, because nobody's gonna be listening to those first few episodes anyway. So let's get it out there. Your first year of podcasting is you figuring out how in the world to be a podcast, or what your voice is, what your message is going to be. And you're going to have all these little 1% micro pivots along the way, like I did, where I started off in health. Now I'm full-time in online business podcasting. Like, I mean, it's going to be a journey. You just got to get the dang journey started. And a podcast that is launched is always way more effective than the podcast that is an idea for another year in your head and sits there.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's funny. This podcast was actually started off in like the fitness and health space more. We had to take a brand transition, right? Because it was so tied to my gym and the brand of that getting any guests on related to fitness, it was like impossible, because it was called the Strive Tribe. So even if you scroll back to episode, I think it's like 20 and below, it was the Strive Tribe. And it was like, I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Like, I'm talking about fitness all day long. Then I'm getting on the podcast, and it was like, no one wants to come on because they have their own fitness brands and they don't want to promote my gym. And it's like, fine. And then my former business partner wanted to kind of step away from the podcasting, and he was like, just do your thing with it. Like, that's you. And I was like, well, I'm doing this for kind of our business, but okay, fine. And we transitioned to the Mindset Cafe, and it was like, it opened up so many doors. And it was one of those things where, again, you can pivot, you can change at any point, and you never know what you're going to click with. I mean, some of the early artwork, like, I'm not gonna lie, looking back, I'm like, dang, I thought that was a good idea to use that artwork. Like, but at the same time, like, it was still the art at the time. Now it's, evolved, and it probably will evolve again. And that's just something that's minimal. People aren't listening to your show because of the artwork. They might click it for the first time because of the artwork. But if you typically have a podcast and people are listening, it's because someone else sent them an episode. Someone else, said, hey, you should listen to this. And so it's like, that's what gets them out there. The artwork is just, secondary in nature. It's more of your flavor, that you want to put that last cherry on top, in my opinion, at least.
Well said. Well said. It's people get in their head about all the details, and it's just like if you can deliver education and energy, and if you can do it in a relatable way, you will win over your audience. You can become the people's champion of your niche. I used to joke all the time with my health show. I was like, there are all these people out there that are like, you know, male models and stuff like that have all these shows, and they have all these listeners because they're famous or they're extremely, giant Instagram followings because they're extremely good looking and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not like that. Like I will deliver that. If you listen to this show, it's not because I'm a male model. It's because I deliver the education, and I became the people's champion of my niche. So like I relate to this person, and even back in the with the gym space, I was like, you can hire me, you can hire someone else, but look at our websites. And if the only testimonials that you see are pictures of themselves, so like look how good looking I am. And I'm like, you walk into my gym, it's an 8,000 square foot studio, and we've got it wallpapered with transformation, 30-pound plus transformations. You had to be 30 pounds or more weight loss transformation to get on the wall, 8,000 square feet. I'm like, walk into that. That's what you want to be a part of. And that's the attitude I brought to my show. It was my weight loss show, which I ended up selling in 2021, but and it's still going strong. It's got almost 2 million downloads now, which is I'm very proud of. But now with podcasting business school, same deal. It's like it's more about the journey of the listener. That I've been through the journey now, and I've achieved a lot of cool things in the podcasting online business space. But to me, it's more about impacting the listener and reach. It's like doing one of those tough mudders, and you're on that 9-foot muddy wall, and you're just at the top reaching, and I'm just pulling people over at this point. I'm like, come on, here's my hand, I'm pulling you over. Now next one, pull you over. And that's our job as online content creators, is we're 5 steps ahead of somebody else. We just got to get them caught up to us.
No, definitely. And I think, what's crazy is, at least this was my hurdle, not in podcasting for some reason, especially the first episodes, I didn't do a video recording. So maybe that was the comfort level. It was just like me and my business partner talking, and it was like, talking about stuff we always talk about. But I was almost more nervous in the beginning, trying to create a personal brand and be more of like the brand face for the gym, and having to record yourself like saying a motivational quote or whatever. And it's like, now you have going through your head, not just what you're saying, but how do you look on camera, all these kind of things. And it's like, it was just repetition. Like the way you get over it is repetition. At first you start to think about what are people going to think about me? What are people going to think about what I say? Because, your friends, your family that normally don't see that side of you, they're going to, in your head, you think that they're going to judge you. And it's like, honestly, within a month, within 2 months, all of a sudden that just is the new you. And now everyone's just like, oh yeah, that's what they do. That's them. Right. And so it's you have this spotlight theory that, everyone is looking at you. You have a spotlight on you. And in reality, everyone has their own spotlights on them, and they're not paying that much attention to the minuscule like mistakes that you make. They just look at the successes. So just because your first couple episodes aren't good, that's going to mean very little in the long scope of things when all of a sudden you have a podcast that is bringing in downloads that people are listening to, that are sharing with their friends and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, first time you work out, you get really sore and you feel terrible, right? Same thing. I mean, it's just reps. It gets better. You just got to keep walking through the door of the gym. And with a podcast, you just got to focus on 2 things: hit the record button, hit the publish button. And you do that every single week, get those reps in, things get better.
Yeah. What is the thing that you help with? I know you help people with their podcasts and their business school and turning that into leads. Now, what's the mindset that you would tell a person wanting to get into podcasting that they need to have around launching their podcast to essentially get leads and get clients? Like, because just talking is one thing, but if you're talking with the intention of getting clients or leads, I feel like there's a different mindset, different way to communicate. What is your kind of, I guess, firsthand advice that you'd give someone that's maybe contemplating starting a podcast, but you're like, look, you don't need to just start a podcast. This could essentially generate you leads.
Yeah. Yeah. So like with my brand podcasting business school, with that show, with that brand, that is my goal. It's to get leads for my business. And that's also what I happen to teach people how to do. And the reason I made the jump from weight loss into this is with my weight loss show, when I'd have guests on, they would hear me talking about my membership, my online boot camps. Like they heard me like saying that, oh, he's making money online. And they would go, hey, can I hire you to teach me how to do this? And I was like, why, yes, you can. I quickly found out that people will pay you a lot more money to show them how to make money than they will pay you for like weight loss boot camps and things like that, which is unfortunate. Saving people's lives, a certain amount of money, but like almost infinite amount of money higher if you can teach them how to make money. So that became what I was known for in that space. That's how I made the jump to podcasting business school. But if somebody wants to launch a show and get clients from it, the first thing they need to think about is, what is that end result offer that you want your listeners to jump into? And what problem are you helping them solve with that end result offer? So if you are like, if you've got like a really killer, like intermittent fasting program, and you're like, this is like what I'm known for. I get people into this. It works every time. It's really great. I think you should really start a podcast based around intermittent fasting. That would be really wise. Or if you are like a social media agency and you help people grow on Instagram, that needs to be a focus point for your podcast and using those keywords. So we get the pain point that we want to solve first. Then we use strategic naming of the show, and we leverage keywords. Like the name of your show will be the number one reason why or why not your ideal potential clients find you. So I've got a simple naming strategy. I call it my perfect podcast naming formula. There's 3 checks on the check boxes. When you create the name of your show, number one, when I read it, I want to know exactly what it's about. Number 2, I want to know exactly who it's for. And number 3, I need to see at least 2 keywords that not basic web keywords like YouTube keywords. I'm talking about somebody goes on Spotify. What are they putting into the Spotify search bar or the Apple search bar, which is usually different? Spoiler alert, ChatGPT and AI sucks at coming up with podcast keywords, like really bad. They'll come up with creative things, but you have to be very specific. So for example, my show, Podcasting Business School, the number one search term for my ideal listener, my ideal client is podcasting or podcasting tips. So the fact that the first word in the name of my show is podcasting, that is huge for organic discoverability. This is why my ideal listeners and clients, and why my discovery call calendar is full every single week. People are searching podcasting tips while I sleep, and then they binge listen on my episodes. I got 566 episodes as of today. They binge listen backwards, and they hear me positioning myself as an expert, doing a lot of coaching on the show. So naming it first, pain point, then we name it to attract the people that want to solve that pain point. Then with your content, this is a very, very important part of this. I've got what I call my 2/3 content rule, where I want 2/3 of your content to position you as the expert. So we're talking solo episodes and what I call coaching or consulting or case study episodes. 2/3 of your content, because if you only do interviews, your audience will view you as the person that interviews experts and not the expert. And that's a problem when you want to sell your whatever it is that you want to sell. They won't buy from you. They'll want to buy from the other person. So solo episodes, 10, 15-minute solos. Mine tend to be a little longer because I've been doing them forever. And I just talk a lot. I teach a lot, Devin. But I'm telling you, these coaching or case study episodes, this is the magic deal. This is the magic bullet, where I invite listeners on. I coach them for free as if they're paying me 30 minutes. I just show off what I do. It's a great episode. Case study episodes, I bring somebody on that's a client. Hey, what were you dealing with when you hired me? Okay, how do we solve that? What's your next goal? Let's do a little bit of live coaching, and let's show off there. It's just like a built-in testimonial. And so having that as my primary content formula is huge. And then you still have 1/3 of your content that I call strategic interviews, where every person that you bring on for an interview, A, they're going to deliver great content for your audience, but B, you have to ask the what's in it for me and what's in it for my brand. Is this a person I want to be connected with? Do I want to hopefully be a guest on their show, do an email list collab promotion, social media live streams together? Do I want to go into business with them potentially, or look as an affiliate link for each other, referrals? Like there has to be that what's in it for me factor. That's a strategic interview. I think once podcasters get going, the biggest mistake they make is we get hit up by these podcasting PR agencies and we just say yes to all of them. And most of them are really terrible. Like I used to always say yes. And they're like, there's guys with like their gardeners running their weed whacker in the background of the audio, or like they don't have headphones, or I mean, they don't share it. It's pretty terrible. That's just one of the dark spaces in podcasting, I think, with the whole paid promotion and PR services. But anyway, if you follow that 2/3 and 1/3 principle, it's really going to deliver with your content. Now we've got a flywheel. People find the show because of the naming and the keywords. They binge on your content. You have a very specific call to action. Usually I like to do discovery calls. My discovery call calendar fills up. I get lots of clients. That's how it works.
No, I mean, that's huge. Like, I know when we had talked and you told me about the keywords, and I was like, man, that's crazy. I never thought about keywords like that, because I think, like, I have seen ChatGPT like give me some ideas, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna be like, I don't think this is the move. But as even I was creating, I'm like, the mindset of that I had to shift was when you're like, for podcast business school, podcast tips and podcasting, how to podcast, and it's like, man, if you just simplify it, like, how would someone type this into Google, or how would someone type this into a search bar? It's like, that's your keywords. And I was like, dang, I need to go back and redo my keywords, but I think that is so awesome. And I love the mindset shift of, I'm not just starting this hoping that I get leads. Like, you're intentionally creating your podcasting mindset around, I'm being intentional of what I'm going to talk about. What am I going to pitch? Why am I doing this? Why would I have this guest on? What is in it for me? Because even though we all have, I mean, you and I, not we all, but you and I have, like, one of our core values that was aligned was having a positive impact. Like, there is still something that you get in return, right? One, it's connection. One, it's networking, whether it's, future or present. But then there has to be something that is a deliverable. Otherwise, why are we spending the most precious thing that we have, which is our limited time? Right. So it's like, there has to be that in it. And it's not wrong to think that, because I think that's where people get mixed up, is they realize, or they think that I just need to give back and I can't ask for anything. It's like, you can, and you should.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And like, just looking at this relationship, like, now Devin invited me to come on his show, which is always an honor for anybody to invite me to come on their show. And now you're connected. You got your podcasting big bro, Adam, over here. Like, all I am is connected to thousands of podcasters. And if I think somebody needs to know you, or you need to know somebody else, I'm making that connection 100%. Whether, oh, you got to have Devin on your show. Here's what he talks about. Oh, Devin's doing this really well. You need to go talk to him, because he may be able to consult and help you out with your business, or whatever. Like, that's locked in. And that's how podcasting works. We collaborate, we make friends, and we develop relationships.
100%. I mean, that's one of the best parts of it. And for those of you guys that are in that podcast procrastination, phase, realize that you can get connected with people in business that are above you just by having a podcast, right? And I mean, you got to have some episodes on your belt, because even when I get asked to come on a podcast and it's like one episode, I'm like, sorry, like, it's not, you got to grow a little bit. But when you want to get connected with someone that has a influence and that has a following, or has the connections that you want to make, and you have a podcast and you're going to let them share their message for free, they're going to reciprocate by now allowing you into their network to a degree, right? So it's like, now you can make that connection. Now you get to meet that person, talk to that person, ask them the questions that you want answered to, right? And so you have to realize that there's so many benefits on the upside, that if you're stuck in I have 47 episodes downloaded, it's like, yo, publish it. Just publish it. Throw it. Like, full send. So I love that. And it is so true. And I love what you got going on, because I think it is so crucial, even though it has definitely gotten easier than 2013, 2015. It still is difficult, especially getting over that slump, especially getting into that mindset of becoming a podcaster. So I love what you got going on. That's why I wanted to, bring you on, because I haven't had someone that's done this yet on the show and creating that podcast mindset. But as we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question, right? And this is the legacy wall question. Now, I will say it's not a tombstone, right? So I'll preface it by saying that. So it's the legacy wall of Adam. What is the one message that you would leave for the up and coming generations that you've learned along your life's journey?
My life's journey. Oh my gosh. I think For me, it's get really good at helping other people solve their problems. Like that's what I've always done. That's how I've monetized since I was 6 years old. You know, like if you can get really, really figuring out what problems are and analyzing your own unique solution and then helping lots and lots of people solve problems, whether it's with your gym and weight loss or whether it's with making money online, that's that's the deal. Like that's how you make a bunch of money, and you do that by making a really positive impact. And I think the error people make is like, we're trying to solve our own problem of not making enough money. And that's the focus point. It's like, I'm not making enough money. I got to go sell something to make more money. But no. What problem are you solving for somebody else? And that will solve your own problem of not having your Lambo with the podcaster license plate yet, or whatever you want to do, you know? So that's what I've gotten really good at. And I'm big on the mantra of less, but better. I'm big on simplification. So if I had to simplify it down, that's what it would be.
No, and I love that, because I mean, that's where I think people do get mixed up, not just in podcasting, but in life in general and business in general, is it's, profit first. And it's like, it's people first, right? You think about the impact that you're having on your team. Think about the impact that the problems that you're solving for your customers, your clients. The profit comes when you focus on the people that you're trying to solve the problem for first. So I love that. Where can people connect with you at?
Yeah. I mean, I would love for you all to dive into my show. It's available anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and just search Podcasting Business School. And I'll give you an episode to start off with, episode 560. I've got a lot, so I hate to just send you guys into the wild. I'm like, oh my God, there's 560 whatever episodes at the time of release. So start with episode 560, because I talk about doubling your download growth with the keywords and the SEO stuff that we talked about a little bit here. There's a lot of strategies there, and it really will help. A lot of people don't realize this, Devin, but there have been over 4.5 million podcasts that have been launched, and only 10% of those, so about less than 500,000, have more than 10 episodes and have released any content in the last 90 days. So opportunity, friends. You look at YouTube channels, you look at blogs, social media handles, there's lots and lots and lots. But podcasting is still fresh and fertile ground. There's a lot of podcasts that have been launched. There are not a lot of podcasters actively podcasting. That's the trick. So I think that hang out, Podcasting Business School, episode 560. I'm Podcasting Business School everywhere online, podcastingbusiness.school. So come and say hi.
No, I love that. And guys, if you guys know someone, or even yourself, if you're debating on launching a podcast, go check that episode out, 560. But if you know someone that has been talking about launching their own podcast, make sure you guys share them this episode and let them, get off that hump of, I'm going to do it one day. It's going to happen. This is my New Year's resolution, 5 years in a row, right? Send this to them. But with that being said, guys, make sure you guys leave that review. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And Adam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hop on the Mindset Cafe. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, everybody.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slacking.